Greetings, dear souls. There are moments along your path of faith when God beckons you into a realm of stillness, where the clamor of the world fades into silence, and His voice alone resonates within the depths of your heart. In these divine invitations to pause, the cacophony of life, its demands, distractions, and dissonance, begins to quiet, not just around you, but deep within you. In this stillness, something profound happens. The noise that often clouds your spirit, the endless thoughts and worries, are hushed, allowing you to hear the subtle, gentle whisper of God's guidance more clearly than ever before. It is in these sacred pauses of quietude that you are drawn closer to Him, not through the flourish of your speech, not through fervent prayers crafted with eloquence, but through the hushed surrender of your spirit. Here, in the silence, you find that the need for words diminishes, and what remains is a pure, unspoken communion with the divine. The stillness becomes a place of refuge, a space where you can rest from the world's pressures, and where your soul is nurtured by the simple yet powerful act of being present with God. In these moments, the silence becomes more than the absence of sound. It becomes a conversation of the heart, where God speaks in ways beyond language, and you respond, not with words, but with a deep, quiet trust. This stillness is not a void, but a sacred invitation to draw nearer to the divine presence, where your soul learns to listen with a depth it never knew before. It's in this tender quiet that you discover the beauty of stillness, where God's voice does not compete with the noise of life but reigns sovereign in the peaceful chambers of your heart. God's call to silence is not an urging toward passivity, but an invitation to trust, to listen, and to allow Him to move in ways that words could never articulate. This call is not about shrinking back or surrendering to the circumstances that surround you. Rather, it is a profound act of faith, a stepping back so that God can step in. Silence, in this sense, is not inactivity. It is a posture of readiness, of open-heartedness, where you make space for God to work in ways that go beyond what you can see or understand. In the stillness, you are not abandoning your voice, but learning that sometimes the greatest strength comes not from what is said, but from what is withheld. Perhaps right now, you find yourself in the midst of an ordeal, overwhelmed by confusion, anger, or weariness, questioning, "Why me, Lord?" The weight of your circumstances presses down, making you feel as though you're on the verge of breaking. In moments like these, the urge to speak, to vent your frustrations, to demand answers from God or from those around you can feel overpowering. The instinct to release your emotions through sharp, cutting words, hoping that somehow speaking your pain will make it easier to bear, can be strong. It feels as though expressing your hurt, your anger, might offer a fleeting relief, a momentary balm for the wounds you carry. Yet, God's invitation is to resist that urge, to hold back, not because your feelings are valid, but because there is a deeper work He wants to do in you and through you in this moment of silence. When we give in to the impulse to lash out, our words often come from a place of pain rather than peace, from fear rather than faith. And while it may seem like releasing those words will lighten your burden, they can instead deepen the unrest within you. God knows the temptation to speak out of frustration, but He also knows that true healing, true peace, comes not from lashing out but from allowing Him to soothe your spirit in the quiet. It's in the silence, when you choose to trust Him with the words left unsaid, that you open yourself to His transformative power. You create room for Him to move in ways that no argument or outburst could ever achieve. Yet, in this very instant, God is gently whispering to your heart, "Remain silent." In a world that seems to demand constant noise, where opinions fly and voices rise in a clamor for attention, where everyone strives to be heard above the crowd, God's call to silence feels almost countercultural. But it is precisely in this noise-filled environment that He asks you to be different, to be set apart. While society may equate speaking up with strength, power, or influence, God's wisdom tells a different story. His invitation is not to prove yourself through words, but to demonstrate trust through restraint, to find strength in quietness. He knows that true power lies not in the volume of your voice, but in the depth of your faith. The enemy, however, knows this too. He thrives on your reactions, eagerly waiting for the moments when emotions are high and defenses are low. He's watching, hoping for a slip, hoping that in your frustration or anger, you will let loose words that cut, that hurt, that can't be taken back. Words spoken in haste can become weapons in his hands, giving him a foothold to stir up division, confusion, and regret. When you react out of frustration, you give him the very opening he seeks to sow chaos into the situation, to turn a temporary problem into a lasting wound. The enemy knows the power of words spoken in anger, how they can unravel relationships, distort truth, and leave scars that linger long after the moment has passed. But God, in His infinite wisdom, is calling you to a higher path, a path that isn't driven by emotion, but by trust in His sovereignty. He's asking you to resist the urge to react, to hold back the words that may feel justified in the heat of the moment, because He knows the consequences they can bring. Instead, God invites you to pause, to remain silent, and to let Him handle the battle. It's not a call to ignore the hurt or frustration, but rather a reminder that silence can be an act of faith. In choosing silence, you are choosing to let God work, choosing to believe that His way, though quieter, is far more powerful than any words you could speak. But God is saying, resist. He urges you to hold your tongue, to refrain from speaking words that might be fueled by the heat of the moment. In doing so, you are entrusting the situation to Him in a way that goes beyond simple patience. You are actively surrendering control, allowing His wisdom and timing to unfold in ways you cannot foresee. When you keep your silence, you're not just holding back emotions or words, you're making a conscious choice to trust in God's greater plan. This silence is not passive, it's a powerful act of faith, where you step back so that He can step in. In that sacred quiet, you're not merely hoping for a physical breakthrough or a resolution to your immediate troubles. Instead, you're inviting a deeper work, a transformation that goes beyond external circumstances. By remaining silent, you're giving God room to reshape your heart, refine your thoughts, and renew your spirit in ways that only He can. This isn't just about outward change, it's about internal transformation, where your soul is being molded to reflect more of His character. As you hold your peace, you will begin to see how God works in the unseen places. The silence allows Him to enter those areas of your heart where words would have only created noise. It's in this stillness that He softens your spirit, refines your perspectives, and aligns your desires with His will. You may not see it immediately, but over time, you will marvel at the metamorphosis that takes place within you when you allow Him to work through your stillness. Your silence becomes a canvas on which God paints His grace, patience, and wisdom, making you more like Him. Through your restraint, you will witness how God turns what seems like inaction into His powerful work. He takes your willingness to be silent and transforms it into a testimony of trust, a witness of His sovereignty. In holding your tongue, you are not merely avoiding conflict or withholding words, you are placing the situation entirely in His hands, demonstrating your belief that He is in control. And in doing so, you bring honor to His name, because the world will see that your silence is not weakness, but strength that comes from trusting in a God who is far greater than any words you could speak. You may wonder, why would God ask me to remain silent when I have so much to say? In moments of frustration or injustice, it can feel counterintuitive to hold back when your heart is brimming with words that long to be spoken. But reflect for a moment on the wisdom embedded in Scripture. Time and again, some of the most monumental breakthroughs came not through loud declarations or impassioned pleas, but through the quietness of God's people. It was in their stillness, in their willingness to trust without immediate understanding, that God moved in extraordinary ways. Consider the Israelites, who were instructed to walk silently around the walls of Jericho, one of the most profound moments in biblical history. For 6 days, they circled the walls in complete silence, resisting the urge to speak or act, though it must have felt strange and perhaps even frustrating to obey such a command. Not a single word was spoken until the 7th day, when their collective shout, after days of quiet obedience, caused the seemingly impenetrable walls to crumble. Their silence was not merely a lack of sound, it was an act of faith, a demonstration that they trusted God's plan even when they couldn't fully comprehend it. In their silence, God was working, orchestrating a victory that only He could bring about. Sometimes, God needs your silence to perform wonders only He can orchestrate. It is in these moments of stillness that God is often doing his most profound work behind the scenes, arranging circumstances in ways you cannot yet perceive. When you choose silence, you're not simply withholding words, you're creating space for God to move in ways that go beyond human understanding. Your silence becomes an invitation for the divine to intervene, to shape events in ways that are far more powerful than anything you could accomplish through your own efforts or words. In this silence, you are participating in something much larger than yourself. You are allowing God to take control, to work in his perfect timing, and to demonstrate his power in ways that will ultimately glorify him. Just as the Israelites' silence was key to their victory, your silence can be the key that unlocks a breakthrough that only God can bring about. It may feel difficult, even unnatural, to remain quiet when your instincts push you to speak out. But in those moments, remember that God's wisdom often transcends human reasoning. What feels like silence to you may actually be the prelude to a miracle, a divine move that will unfold in his perfect timing. There is a profound truth in the life of Jesus, who, when wrongfully accused and condemned, chose silence in the face of injustice. Despite having every right to speak out, to defend his innocence, and to expose the lies of those who sought to condemn him, he did not retaliate. He did not seek to justify himself before those who twisted the truth. Instead, he remained silent, not out of weakness, but because he trusted fully in God's ultimate design. He knew that his silence was part of a greater purpose, one that extended far beyond the immediate moment of his suffering. In his quiet endurance, he demonstrated a profound faith in the Father's plan, knowing that truth would ultimately prevail in God's perfect timing. You too are called to that same trust. When lies and falsehoods are hurled against you, when your character is maligned, and when your intentions are misunderstood, the instinct to defend yourself, to correct the narrative, can be overwhelming. It's natural to want to vindicate yourself, to make others see the truth of who you are. But in these moments, God is asking you to resist that urge. Not because your truth doesn't matter, but because he is working in ways you cannot yet see. He is calling you to a deeper trust, one that doesn't rely on immediate justification or human approval, but on his ultimate justice and righteousness. When you choose silence in the face of false accusations, you are not conceding to the lies or allowing yourself to be defeated. Instead, you are placing the situation in God's hands, acknowledging that he alone sees the whole picture. He understands every nuance of your heart, your motives, and your actions. And it is he, not the world, who will ultimately vindicate you. Your silence becomes a powerful testament of your faith, a declaration that you trust God to fight for you, to bring the truth to light in his own time and in his own way. It's not that your voice or your perspective is unimportant. But sometimes, silence speaks louder than words. It demonstrates a confidence in God's sovereignty, an understanding that his ways are higher than yours. It is a refusal to engage in the battles the world wants to drag you into, battles that only distract and exhaust your spirit. By choosing silence, you are stepping back and allowing God to take control of the situation, to bring about a resolution that will glorify him in ways you may not yet comprehend. In time, you will see that God's justice is far more complete, far more powerful, than any defense you could mount on your own. Just as Jesus entrusted himself to the Father's will, even in the midst of betrayal and falsehoods, you are called to entrust your life to the one who is always working for your good, even when the path is unclear. Your silence is not surrender, it is a declaration of trust in the one who holds all truth and will ultimately make all things right. Thank you again for watching, and may the peace of Jesus always be with you. Until our next meeting, may God bless you.